Hey guys, Jacoby Davis here with Say It Loud. I'm joined poolside today by Derric Gobourne Jr., past GBM Idol winner, West Coast Back Theater Troupe dancer, actor, and producer, who also just dropped a new hit single, Make Time for Love, that features 35 artists from around the globe. Hey Derric, how you doing today?
Everything is everything. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for joining me today on the show.
Of course.
Okay, so I kind of want to take a step back because like we were talking earlier, before this new hit single, you had also dropped an album over in Japan.
Yes, sir.
All right, you want to talk to me a little bit about that?
So, around 2016, I started recording this album called Supremacy.
Okay.
And I took 2 years to really study New Jack Swing. And then I got in the studio with my engineer, EJ Porter, and we really just grinded this album out. I wrote and produced every song on it. And so my first single, which happens not to be on the album, it's called From the Outside.
Okay.
I released it in 2017.
Okay.
And then I had this email from this guy named Shin from Japan. He says, "Hi, I'm Shin from Japan.
Yeah.
And I'm with P-Vine Records, and we really love your music, and we would really love to lease it." And leasing means that we're gonna take the music and we're gonna release it for you without you having to be on the label.
All right.
And so they were like, "We're gonna release the album," and it did really well over there because New Jack Swing still has a huge market over in Japan. So it hit number 45 on the Japan Top 50 Singles chart.
That is
and
insane.
There's a lot of music videos that blew up over there, and a lot of kids are dancing to the songs. They do it in classes and tournaments and malls, and it's been a really great experience.
I know it had to have been, and I mean, just receiving that energy back, you know what I'm saying, from all your time, hard work, and dedication and perseverance, to kind of have that payoff, which you don't always get, must be huge for you.
Right, yes.
Yeah, so you mentioned New Jack Swing.
Yes.
I know for our viewers out there, especially for the youth, especially for somebody like me, we're not as antiquated with things like that, so could you kind of explain what that is and how you got into it?
So New Jack Swing is, the best description of New Jack Swing is Bell Biv DeVoe's, which is hip-hop smoothed out on an R&B tip with a pop feel appeal to it. So any songs like Poison by Bell Biv DeVoe, that girl is poison, My Prerogative, Bobby Brown, Bruno Mars, Finesse. That style is New Jack Swing.
Okay.
And so how I got into it, my dad is a very big music person. Okay. My earliest memories of anything is being in the car with my dad and listening to Bob Marley with jamming and stuff like that. And so there's this radio station that he loved that we used to have, WSJT 94.1. Listen to it all the time. And they used to play stuff like, cannot remember her name, but there's this song, "Been Around the World and I can't find my baby." That's a New Jack Swing song. "I'll Be Sure," "Night and Day," and "Off on Your Own, Girl."
Right.
And so I always knew about it, but I didn't know that that was what it was called.
Right.
So I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, and I bought the Dangerous album. And then I started studying. Teddy Riley produced all these songs. I love these sounds. I love these snares. They're so in your face.
Right.
So let me figure out what this sound is called. It's New Jack Swing. Oh, let me go ahead and do it.
Right.
So I used to be a backup dancer for my brother Christopher Eisenberg, who's gone off to sign and deal with Sony. And he seen that I was interested in music. And he said, the first thing that labels are going to ask you are what makes you different. And I said, okay, well, I can dance and I can sing, but also so can Chris Brown. So can Bruno Mars. So can Beyonce. So can Justin Timberlake. What makes Derric unique? So I was like, what do I like? Okay, I got this high top fade. I dress like the 90s. That's all I listen to. Let's just see where it goes. Let me try New Jack Swing. Trial and error. Let's see what happens. 4 years later, we are here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, kind of like how we've been talking, what it seems like to me is that, you don't really go with the trends. You like to go a lot with what you feel.
Yes, sir.
And you like those little nostalgic feels that you get from this music. And from a lot of our conversations, what I've picked up is that you are really in love with how music makes people feel, not necessarily the notes or that kind of thing. Can you kind of elaborate on that for me?
So, as we were talking earlier, we were talking about creating moments.
Right.
I was in Goodwill yesterday, just shopping.
Yeah.
And as soon as I hear that "What's Going On" drop, that saxophone,
Gotcha.
Every time it's a mood for me. It's a feeling. I've heard that song millions of times. millions of different places. It does not matter where I hear it. It gives me the same feel. If I hear Sir Duke by Stevie Wonder anywhere, it's gonna give me that same feeling of, oh my gosh, this is Stevie Wonder.
Right.
So for me, I know I was having a conversation with my friend, and he was telling me that he was talking to his artist friend, and he was like, you know, I want a house, I want a mansion, I want all these girls, I want cars. And he was telling him that, hey, it's not about that. And he's like, yeah, you know, but it is. He's like, no, it's not.
Right.
What it's about is creating the moment. Because if you create this moment, because those things can come and go, the house, the cars, the girls. You create this moment, 50 years later, you can still eat off that moment. People will still be inspired by that moment.
And still remember.
However many years later, What's Going On came out in, 1971?
Something like that.
And we're still
to this day.
This day, it creates a moment. I didn't get to experience the Detroit protests.
Right.
I didn't get to experience the civil rights era.
Right.
But what we're experiencing now, I can live through that music.
Right.
I know what they were feeling. We feel the same way.
Correct.
Still relevant.
Yeah.
That mood, that energy. So when we get into the studio, for me, I know I'm not the strongest singer, but it's not about the notes for me. We have all the technology to correct it. So I'm going to convey the energy, the emotion. Man in the Mirror would not be Man in the Mirror had Michael not been at the end doing all that stuff that he did. You got to stop it, you stop. You feel that.
Right.
You feel that.
Right.
So that's the strongest thing for me is emotion. Is to feel the music, to make it move. The vibrations are the strongest thing that we have.
Right.
So just to be able to vibrate through the soul.
And I think it, especially for our youth viewers, to hear that it's about creating moments. And I think, as we were talking earlier, you know what I'm saying, especially even with, you know, the music industry, people are just saturating the market, putting stuff out, moving on, putting stuff out, moving on. And we kind of see that a lot, especially with social media and trends today, especially like even with TikTok, we were talking about all like the new dances and stuff. You do it for a little bit, you know, the fire burns out and we're on to the next thing. And, you know, I think for our youth today is to see that you need to live within those moments. You need to create those feelings of nostalgia. You need to create those different feelings. So for our youth today, I think that it's beautiful that you know, kind of say that.
Yes, sir. When Renegade was big, I saw a girl do it in the club, and I was like, what is that? I wasn't on TikTok when it first came up, so by the time I had learned it, it had already moved on. Everybody had already moved on to the next thing.
Right.
So I tell my artist friends all the time who just release music and just release music. Us as creatives, one of our problems is that we just want to get everything out into the world.
Right.
And we really just want to push all our ideas. And I'm like, God willing, we have that time to keep pushing out and inspiring, but you have to let each moment have its moment. Right. I have to humble myself all the time and be like, hey, you still have a single out.
Right.
I just did it with Make Time for Love. It was like, you still have a single out and you still have a job to do. You still need to donate for this purpose, even though your mind has moved on to this is the next single.
Right.
There's still a purpose in what this is, and I don't want to just, you know, this is the end and I'm just gonna relish in all this glory of Make Time for Love. No, this is a nice thing and I'm so grateful that it happened, but now it's time to focus on that at the same time, and at the same time I can still move on, but really focus and make sure that the goal has been hit without having to move on.
Right, I feel that. And so now you're kind of bringing up Make Time for Love. Can you explain to the viewers what that is?
So, 2 years ago, I think that's what the voicemail says, 2018. I study a lot of music, so in the 80s, really in the early 90s, there were these record labels who would just get all of their artists and say, let's do a song. And that was really the biggest inspiration for me. Right. I don't have a label. Right. So what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get a bunch of artists on a song? And what makes the most sense? Me being a fan of Michael Jackson, We Are the World was a very big inspiration for this song. And what do I care about the most? Because I can't do USA for Africa. Right. You know, what do I care about? What do I want to raise money for? Okay, I really care about kids. And one of the biggest messages I try to convey is to raise kids without having to put your hands on kids. And I think that child abuse is just one of the most disgusting things in the world. Right. So I know that there's a bunch of organizations for that, so I knew that I could help raise money to donate to those organizations. So we got 35 different artists from around the world, and they recorded their parts in their homes. I think it was 11 countries and 7 states, and we just all came together for this song. I wrote it over 2 times, just to make sure it was perfect. And I got my team to help me arrange it and make sure that we have everything perfect. And we created the demo and we sent it out, and we just released it. And it's been touching lives. Yeah. How many people called me and said, I'm in tears right now. And that's so about creating the moment.
Right.
And I've always wanted to make music that moved people.
Right.
And I knew, the ins and outs. I knew that, the saxophone solo, I don't want a hard, energetic one. We just got done with all this energy.
Right.
Let's sit in it. Let's make this something like smooth jazz. Let's sit in it. That's going to create a moment. That's going to create a vibe for people. And that's the emotional build. So I know all the ins and outs of it, but when you're doing it, when you're creating it, you really are not thinking about it. So to hear people feel like, it just moved me in a certain way, it's just so, I'm just filled with so much gratitude and so much happiness.
That's beautiful. And also what we've been talking about is a lot of times nowadays kids chase the currency, and we talk about money currency.
Right.
And what we're seeing here is that your currency is within the lives that you're touching, and even indirectly through those non-for-profits for child abuse, not even hearing the song, but just getting the implications and the aftermath of what the song is actually producing. So I think that's beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Especially for you, because you have a purpose, and following any man following a purpose, especially like what my dad says, is if you find something you love in life, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
And so I feel like that's what you're doing. And I feel like for youth, it's especially important for us to hear that, because nowadays it's science and technology and all that kind of good stuff. And so to see somebody that's within this, doing, especially with teachers nowadays saying, music industry isn't something, we should be getting into, it's a dying field, blah, 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 or, you don't really find longevity in that. For you to be able to sit there and prosper in it, it's truly inspirational.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, so just any last words to the youth out there?
Any last words? I always say, give love, spread love, and receive love. I think love is the strongest emotion, and love is more than one thing. When people hear love, they tend to think of something like romantic love or just one thing. Love is everything. Love is yourself. Love is you. Love is me. Love is God. And so just continue to give love, spread love, and receive love, and do things for love. Or do things through love and not for love.
Right.
So, yes, sir.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you, Derric, for joining me today.
Of course, thank you.
And hopefully the youth can, take something from this interview. You know what I'm saying? Doing things through love and not for love, and following your passions and your dreams.